recording, so we have a video here. So we're back for another game diary with Mikael Leval. That
Yep.
I think, yeah, see, he's here. Where we're gonna talk about his game. Please knock on my door.
Yes.
And I think that's all for the introduction, right?
Do we need to check audio? Are we
Yeah.
good?
Can someone tell us if we're good with audio? Maybe I should actually see chat first, which I do now. It's fine.
Are our sounds okay? Are we both audible?
I mean, I guess so. No one's complaining, so
Yeah, I think there's a small delay on the stream, so
yeah, that's true.
uh,
I
but
hope.
yeah, I think we should be fine
Yep.
this time. We've had some problems with it in the past, but I think we'll be fine. Just give us a shout if there are any issues.
Yeah. We can
All right,
fix it.
so cool.
So
Sweet. So should I just start off?
yeah, do it.
Yeah, awesome. So, yeah, my name is Michael Laval, and I'm a Swedish game developer. I am currently working on the title Please Knock on My Door, as Tobias just said. And it's a social commentary game dealing with issues surrounding mental health. And if you want to know more about what it means that I'm creating a social commentary, I strongly urge you to watch the first part of this developer diary series, which you can find on YouTube.
I can link that.
Yeah, cool. You
While
can
you
throw a
talk.
link in chat.
Yep.
So for today's diary, we're going to do a gameplay showcase. We're not going to talk about stuff outside of the actual game, so we're going to be strictly looking at a specific part of the game. And what we'll be looking at is what the player will be doing while the main character is at work, and how I've worked with text and layout to convey different parts of the narrative. So we're actually going to jump straight into the game if Tobias can just start it up. And
Yes.
how's
First, we're gonna post this. Done. And now I'm gonna start up the game. So we should see it on stream in. The game crashed. Wait, let me just try this again. It seems like it, like every second time I try to open it, it crashes. Uh,
Yeah, we got it running before the stream, so it
yeah,
should be fine.
and yes, I can. I'm gonna do that. Sure. Start. Do you see the screen now?
I do.
Yes, and the game is gonna be up as soon as I tab into it. And now you should see it on stream very soon with the delay first, so.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, you can just head over to the front door and just leave for work instantly.
Yep.
So today we're not going to be looking at the actual apartment, but instead at the scene where the main character will be while at work and what the player will get to see there. So on the first day when you leave, you get to see a clock, as you just saw here, that just counts up. And after that you will get to the workday screen, which you can see here. So on each workday, at the end of the workday, the player will get to explore the main character's desk and see him write in his diary, as you can see he's now doing. So with this, I aim to give the player some insights into the character's current state of mind. In addition, the workspace has some items that the player can interact with, and when designing this, I actually took some inspiration from the card game Hearthstone, which I know might sound a bit unlikely for a game like Please Knock on My Door, but the specific part that I got the inspiration from was that in Hearthstone, which is a card game, while your opponent is taking his turn, you can click around in the arena and discover neat little animations, which can keep you occupied while you can't play any cards. So that gives you a nice sense of exploration, as each new arena will have some unique insights in it, some unique things. Sorry. I wanted to create that feeling of exploration, so I added small interactive elements to the objects I thought the player would be most inclined to touch. Even if this adds nothing to your character's stats or mood, most players still spend some time clicking around every time they come to this scene. and many will continue to click around on the items, even if they know exactly what will happen and seemingly nothing changes. And I'd like to take one such example from a playtest. So the computer screen up to the right, you can just try toggling it on and off now, Tobias. There. So I had a player who, at the end of each workday, the last thing he did was that he turned the screen off, and then he left. However, after receiving an angry Postit note from his boss, he stopped turning off the screen with the argument that he wanted his idiot boss to lose money due to power consumption.
Sorry, I didn't know that.
That's actually quite funny, and the guy who did that will actually be on the stream.
Oh.
The stream later on, yeah. After this, the dev diary. But yeah, anyway, the change from top-down management in the apartment to point and click is of course a conscious choice on my part. And I wanted something to break off the monotone gameplay of the apartment in order to keep the gameplay interesting and fresh. This change in gameplay has caused a small divide between my testers. Most people like it, as it gives you a breakpoint each in-game day with something different to do. However, a small number of people have found the addition of this scene weird and initially a bit off-putting, especially its gameplay effects. It seems like some people feel it's weird to have this kind of gameplay in such a small part of the game, and that I should have implemented it in more spaces. I'm not entirely sure how to alleviate this problem, except for, of course, creating more areas with similar gameplay. However, that would be quite costly, development-wise. I actually had plans for some time to do it, but as development has kind of gone on, I had to cut those parts. However, I personally like the thought of giving the player a break from the ordinary gameplay, as this also symbolizes the in-game character getting a break from being trapped within the walls of his apartment. As it stands, I've decided to keep it in this specific scene, and I just hope that more players will like it than those who don't, basically. I have also never registered negative feedback regarding this scene as something that would stop someone from playing or liking the game overall, merely that some players found the change in gameplay initially off-putting, as it required them to do something new. I do think that it's very subjective, though. I'm now going to talk about the different story elements in this scene. So, it might not be obvious at first, but this scene is actually divided up in distinct spaces to make it easier to read and navigate around for a new player. So in the middle, the most obvious part, is the diary. So the text here is written automatically, and the player is blocked from interacting while it's being written, as you could see earlier. The diary will give the player an insight into the main character's perspective on what's going on around him. On the first day, the post will give an introduction to the diary itself and its purpose. The posts are addressed to the main character's dad, which makes it easier for me to write them. Initially, they were not addressed to anyone, and were mere summarizations of loose thoughts and observations from the main character. This made them difficult to write, and I think this might be a personal preference from my side. I just prefer to have someone to write them to, as if I was writing them genuinely for myself. I found it easier to write quality text if the texts were addressed to a specific person. This gave me a reason to let the main character explain the situations he had experienced and just coloring them with his perspective. On the right of the screen, there's a set of Postit Notes, which Tobias has neatly sorted out. These are addressed to the main character, and each is given from one of 4 different colleagues. They all have different relationships to the main character, and so their different relationships will be reflected in the way that they write and what they write about. I use Post-it notes to give a small glimpse into the thoughts of the people around the main character, to give insights into what they think of him. On the left of the diary, you will find a notebook with the current work-related notes taken by the main character. I used these to give small insights into the current work the main character is doing. So most days these will merely be asset lists or to-do lists of some kind, but sometimes they will be injected with some emotion from the main character about his work. So, in summary, these three areas give three different perspectives on what's going on in the main character's life. You got the diary in the middle, which gives an overall perspective from the main character on an event that's happened during the current workday. The Postit Notes, which give insight into what his colleagues are thinking about his work and him. And the Notebook, which gives an insight into the main character's perspective on his current tasks. It's also interesting to note that while I have never personally had a diary like the one here myself, I did feel the need to add it in order to show the player the thought pattern of the main character. So I also think that even if I have never written a diary myself, this might be an aspect of the game that some players will be able to relate to, and thusly having an easier time understanding the main character. It also makes the game feel a bit more personal, as you get a glimpse into the piece of text that would usually be forbidden for you, since it is of course a diary and written as such. So that is overall the thoughts that I had. Did you just let the light be off?
Yes.
Do you like it?
No, I mean, I can turn it on, because I also got an angry note from my boss. I guess
Oh.
John is my boss. I kind of want to,
Yeah.
like...
Yeah. So the different characters will be introduced further along the game. I wasn't thinking of going too much into that. There are also ways for the player to actually affect what is being written in the diary.
Oh.
That might be a topic for next time.
Yeah.
I haven't decided yet. But yeah, I think we're ready to move on to questions. If anyone has any questions,
Yeah.
please feel free to write them in chat, or if Tobias has some.
Yeah, I can
thoughts or-
start with some straight away that I thought about. First of all, I'm curious why, because as you said, a diary is something like personal.
Mhm.
So I'm a bit curious why you choose to have it at work. Because I don't know, that doesn't feel like the main place I would write in a diary.
Yeah. I chose to place it there because I wanted it to be like a place where the main character gets to vent before leaving to go back home. It's also a part of like the logistics in the game. Like it's a bit of game logic really. It makes more sense to strap the player down here at this desk than in the apartment. For those of you who saw the earlier part where we show the apartment, it's very free for the player to roam around, and I can't really control if the player will ever sit down at the desk in the apartment. So because I wanted to show, I wanted to give a piece of this narrative every day, it made
Yeah.
sense to use it in a scene where the player did not have an option to leave, basically. I mean, they can leave, of course, before reading it, but
Yeah.
it has to at least be there in front of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was just curious because I mean, I think it's from a game perspective, I agree that it feels like the correct choice because this is the one
Yeah.
place where you actually tell them like you're at a desk and you can't do anything but go home.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly.
So I mean, I get it from that. It was more I wanted to know the idea.
Yeah,
behind
no,
it
I mean,
since-
it's a totally fair point.
yeah,
I do feel like it can make sense in this narrative as the main character wants to get some thoughts out of his mind
Yeah.
before leaving to go back home to
Mhm.
to his everyday routine. There are actually notes also that references to the red book, quote unquote, that your boss doesn't want you to write in because he feels like you're wasting time.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
And yeah. Because I mean, I also think like from a real life perspective, if I would write a diary,
Yeah.
I agree that like I mean I feel like it would be a weird place, but at the same time I also feel like it would be the right place because it is kind of like when you go home from work is, or at least for me, that's when you cut off like the work idea of having stuff you need to do most of the
Yeah.
time. Like I mean, I could have a to-do list when I get home, like clean my room and whatever, but it feels like
Yeah.
work is more the place where I do that, and then it feels like an ending into the day, writing in a diary wouldn't actually feel wrong in that sense.
Yeah. I mean, I also I wanted to collect all of these different perspectives in the same scene. As you could see here, We have 3 different perspectives lined up, one in the middle, one to the right, one to the left.
Yeah.
And they all give you different insights into what's going on from different perspectives. So that's also a reason why I wanted to have it here, because I wanted this to be a change of pace
Yeah.
to the routine that you are in the main game, like in the apartment. Because of course the apartment is designed to keep you kind of chugging along a routine. So I felt like to not make that stale, I needed someplace else to put the player, to let them like experience something a little bit different before returning back to
Yeah.
that place.
So
Do you have any thoughts on that? Because I actually got a question via
Yeah, it's-
Twitter.
Oh, cool. Because I was just going to say, we also got something in chat that we need to answer that says, what are you coding from
Oh.
Nygaard Productions? And I just want to say, like, this is a dev diary. I know I usually do Unity tutorials on these channels as well, so I'm not sure if that's why.
Oh, cool.
So this is not a tutorial, this is a game developer diary with Mika Leval, where he talks about the game he's currently working on in Unity.
Hello. I'm
so-
coding in C#.
Yeah, exactly. But we can take the question from Twitter now. I just
Yeah.
wanted to answer that so he knows
Sure.
what's going on.
So I got a question, another one from Victor Jived. It's is any of the characters going to show awareness of the illness of the main character?
Oh, interesting question.
And the answer is yes, they are. However, not in the up in your face direct way. More like sensing that something is wrong with you. And it's going to be tied into, I don't want to go too much into that right now. It's
Yeah.
going to be tied into some decisions the player will get to make that affect what gets written in the diary and what then happens in the story. Because I want to do that in a separate dev diary, because I feel like we could probably cover up an entire episode of itself
Yeah.
with that.
Cool. I have
the answer
another.
is-
Yeah.
Sure.
I have another one. I mean, we tested this before stream to make sure everything worked and all that. And the Postit Notes then were much better. Not better in the sense of these are bad, but better in the sense I got nice notes, which I somehow feel here is I got a mad note from who I assume is my boss, John here, being a douche, saying I want the form on my desk yesterday.
Yep.
And then someone that wants help and also tells me to bring coffee.
Yep.
So I'm assuming these are random.
They are random at this time.
Yeah, but you talked about already that you're gonna be able to kind of affect what they say, not kind of or what?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, okay, instead of just beating around the bush, I just explain shortly what it's about. So, the player will get to do something that I just, in-house, I just call it daily choices.
Oh, yeah.
That will be shown instead of the red timer that you saw in the beginning.
Oh.
So, that red timer will only be there on day 1, because I want the player to always see the text that you can see here, the Hey Dad text that explains what the book is for. After that, the diary will always be connected to the daily choice that the player has made. So that's where the changes in the diary comes in.
Yeah.
I haven't, as of yet, made the connections between the Postit Notes
Oh, okay.
and the choices that the player has made so far.
Yeah.
And of course, some of these I feel like should be kind of random, because that's probably the best way to implement them. Like a post-it note such as, hey, bring some coffee, or hey, help me with the W42 or whatever.
Yeah.
That's not something that the player would actually get to affect, and you wouldn't really get to affect that in real life either, because these are other people who do who say things to you. So I feel like to an extent the random aspect of it can work, but also it would be nice to have it tied into the choices that the player has made also. Like perhaps some post-it notes would be unlocked if you do a specific thing towards a specific character, which makes them feel for you or like you more.
Yeah.
to
Okay.
give a short example.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna ask an obvious question that might be a spoiler alert here.
Uh-huh.
That I know that everyone watching, even if they're not asking it, everyone will ask it. Can you get fired?
I'm not gonna say.
I mean, you don't need to answer it. So
Yeah, I
I
mean,
just
I feel like we talked about this. I think we talked about this in the last part
yeah,
actually.
I think we might have
That
as well.
the I I thought about like having a suicide scene,
Yeah,
and I thought about alternate ways of quote unquote losing a game about depression.
yeah,
And so the thought of getting fired came up. Um, so yeah, I don't want to go into like specifics of what will happen in the end,
yeah,
but you can, yeah, you know like my thought patterns,
yeah,
how they go around that. So
yeah.
I would definitely be open to um, do that as an alternative to having like um, the suicide scene that I feel like it's used a lot when it comes. I mean, for obvious reasons, of course, but
Yeah,
I feel like it would be interesting to try and get a different perspective of like how you could end a story about these kinds of issues.
yeah. No, I agree. Um, we got confirmed as a definite maybe from chat.
Excellent comments.
um, yeah, I don't really have any other questions, so I don't know if anyone in chat has any questions. I'm gonna jump out of game into the.
Yeah.
Let's just do that actually, so we just have the nice background, because it's easier to do that. And stop sharing screen with you, so you don't need to watch yourself on Skype. So I don't know if anyone has anything in chat. Otherwise, we're gonna move on to game dev thoughts.
Yeah. Can I just do the ending?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I just wanted to give them like a second to write questions
Sure.
if they had any before I changed to the ending.
Right.
So it was more waiting.
Being nice to chat.
Exactly.
That's so sweet of you.
I mean, they have a delay as well. We have to remember that.
Oh yeah, right.
So,
That's
but it
true.
doesn't look like it. So you can probably go ahead and do the ending. Actually.
Yeah. So as always, if you missed the start, you don't have to worry because the VOD will be up on mine and Tobias's YouTube channels this Friday, and you can find them to the top and bottom of the screen that's currently on the stream. The next Dev Dial will be on the 25th of November, so make sure to tune in then for more info about how development's going. And if you'd like to get in touch, as always, you can send me a tweet at GTLime, or you can find me on Facebook on the page Please Knock on My Door. So thank you all for watching and have a great week.
Yep. So